Well, what I have here is something a little different. Yes, it does look like a typical HMV, maybe, or a Victrola from a distance, but it's definitely not. This is a Japanese gramophone. The tag says the Nitto Gramophone Company. Yeah. Nitto Gramophone, Osaka, Japan. LTD, Osaka, Japan. And it's got a little logo up there. Swallow, I believe that is. I believe this to be a post-World War II manufactured machine. I could be wrong. I do not have a lot of information on these machines from Japan. I know that the Japanese government nationalized the foreign-owned gramophone manufacturing businesses, like who was there, Columbia and HMV, all the rest of those, in, I believe it was 1937. And they have a gramophone manufacturing history in Japan going back to the teens and 20s. But I don't have any information on this particular. I do know that the Nitto company still exists, at least the name. I don't know if it's the same company. You can trace its roots back to this. This was some branch of it. I don't know. But they still exist today because I found information online about them. Every time I looked up Nitto, it kept giving me the company website for the modern company, which had nothing to do with gramophones. Anyway, back to this machine. The story I read somewhere was after the war, all the factories were bombed. Everything was blasted to bits. So what they had to do in order to make a gramophone was to go to the various factories, salvage what they could of the tooling and machinery, bring it to some central location somewhere, and design something that they could make from the parts. Maybe it has a Columbia type motor, a Victor style cabinet, and so on and so forth. HMV style tone arm, anything they could do to make a machine that they could sell on the Japanese home market or to occupation troops or outside the country to get some hard currency coming in. Now, you look at this and you say, wow, look at that. That kind of looks like what Victor would call an antique finish. Antique oak finish, or something like that, or weather-beaten oak finish, or one of those dark oak finishes. Or maybe just a golden oak finish that was really aged and dark. Well, not quite. Let's take a closer look at this. See all that grain? Yeah, it looks like your typical oak-style grain. Not quarter sawn on the doors, although it does look quarter sawn up there. That is actually painted on over what I suspect is basic pine board. I don't think any exotic woods or even heavy oak woods were used in this. Doesn't look like it. And it doesn't feel like it. The cabinet is very light. It's light as a feather. And it looks like a baby Victor or HMV. The closest that would come to this is an HMV 103. The 103 is actually a little bit larger. But the 103 has a single spring motor, a little one, from a portable gramophone, while this has a fairly large one that sort of reminds me of something maybe Swiss, except it's heavier built and uses more brass. Like, look at that governor. That governor's all brass, even the weights. That's a really nice governor on there. And unlike Columbia, it doesn't have all kinds of brass gear. It has one brass gear right there in the main shaft, right there on the worm gear and the governor. All the rest of the gears are steel. This motor is fully functional. It does work. It's not broken. Obviously, it needs the cleaning it's going to get. But other than that, it doesn't need repair or parts. The tone arm is brass. You can see that is nickel-plated brass. Fairly simple. It doesn't have the movable elbow. It's almost like a Columbia tone arm. Kind of looks like one. But it's not pot metal. It's brass tube. And the reproducer says Nippophone on it. I think that's brass also, but it might be machined aluminum. I will know once I take that apart and I can look at it a little closer, because it's not deteriorating. I've had some Japanese phonographs where the pot metal reproducer was just in pieces. And if you look at that needle bar, that really does look like something off of an exhibition, doesn't it? That looks like some version of an exhibition needle bar. Imagine some of the parts would have to change. Now the gasket up there looks like it might be exhibition gasket material. Diaphragm doesn't look too bad. The paper label on it looks okay. That big, thick gasket's going to be fun to find. I'll have to do some searching around, but I'm sure I could find something to substitute for that. Tiny turntable. It's not big at all. What is that? 8 inches maybe? I haven't measured it, but it's definitely not 10. And it's very light. It's pressed. This looks like something off of a portable. Probably is. There's the crank. There's the speed control, which, by the way, appears... No, the brake. That long lever is the brake, and it goes right through the side of the case here. That I have never seen before on a machine like this. That is different. It'll be interesting when I get... That's probably something they borrowed off of Columbia, but not for the outside of the case. That'll be interesting when I get into getting it back together. The escutcheon over there looks Columbia or possibly Heinemann. Now you can see this cabinet is going to take a lot of work. The painted finish is not that bad. Little chip and scuff here and there, but it's not bad at all, which is good because I have no idea how I would replicate that. Not a clue. Not a cabinet maker, but I can clamp and glue a cabinet. That much I can do, and this one is going to need it everywhere. You can see it there, there, more over here, back here, and the entire lid is held together by hopes and dreams. I mean, this is just, it's almost apart. But the wood is all good. Nothing is splintered or broken. The wood is there. It's good. Just needs to be clamped and glued, which is kind of a routine thing. You get used to that sort of thing working with this type of machine. We have piano hinges on the doors. The horn, which is wood. I think this fragment here came off the upper edge in the horn in there. I can glue that. It's there. I can glue it. Down here, the horn is coming out of the elbow. That will have to be fixed. I'll seal it back in there. The wood doesn't look warped, water damaged, or anything like that, which is especially good considering, like I said, I suspect it's pine. So, you know, that's good that there are no bug issues with it. It's been well kept, even though it looks like it's fallen apart. I think that might be the fault of the glue. Maybe in the post-war era, they just didn't have the right kind of hide glue, perhaps, or they were missing some critical ingredient for it, so it's failed early. I don't really know, because I don't think dampness did this. It just doesn't look it. The rest of the machine looks too good for that. The wood is straight. It's not all bowed and twisted that I would expect from pine, or even oak for that matter. So that's going to be a bit of a project, but nothing I haven't done before more than once. And what was the other thing I was going to mention on this? Oh, this here is, look at that. Do you see that texture? That kind of woo like this going on the side? That's under the finish. That was there when this was new. That is not the result of a peeling veneer, because this doesn't have veneers. That is left on the finish, which is indicative of something that was made maybe not under the best of circumstances and kind of in a hurry. You can see some tongue and groove back here. Let me stretch a bit. That's looks like it's sprung, but it actually isn't. That is how, and both sides are the same. That is how it was made and how it still is. I guess they figured it's in the back. Nobody's going to notice it. It's just a hair of texture going down the side here that's a little wobbly. You can see that maybe they could have sanded that a little bit better before they used it, but it could be there was a time constraint or some other constraint. Maybe the machines were so blasted they just, this is the best they could do. I don't know. And what's underneath it? Let me put this lid down, which is kind of a little hard to do. This lid stay is really cheesy. I don't know what they borrowed that off of, but that's definitely not the best. You can see what's happening, the whole lid. But that's all right. The wood itself is good. I can fix that. That's definitely a plus, that it can be fixed. You know, I don't have to try to replace missing wood on it. Simple panel under there that's coming off. And that's like wall paneling. That's nothing. But this is, you know, something fun to play with that's kind of in the family of stuff that I play with. Victor, HMV, and whatnot. But it really isn't, you know, the same old thing. Another one, you know, this is something a little different. And you get to see how, you know, things were done in that period of time. And I think now I have, I don't know, this is the first tabletop Japanese gramophone that I have. I have at least 2, possibly 3 portables. One of which is functional. I forget the name of it. And a couple that really aren't because of pot metal issues. I don't know the errors they were made. They could have been post-war. They might have been pre-war. Maybe both. Don't know. Never saw one of these before. Not out in the wild. Not accessible to me. You know, not that I thought to look for them online, but I just happened to see this in passing because I was doing a gramophone search. There it was. I'm like, there's enough there that I could put that back together and play with it. And the story behind this was from the guy I bought it from. He had purchased this in the late 1960s in Japan and brought it back to the States for his father, who, like me, liked to tinker with these machines. And the father had this all done up and running, you know, and all that was working, all that stuff. And I guess the father passed away at some point, and the son got it back and kept it around for 20, 30 years or however long, and figured he's never really going to get around to getting it going again, so he decided to sell it. And I'm happy he did, you know, so I got to buy it. And now I can play with it. So this will turn up in videos eventually. I don't have time for 20 hours of gluing joins right now, but I thought I would just do a quick video on it so that you could see what one of these looks like, just in case you spot one in the wild and wonder, what kind of machine is that? You know, where did that come from? Is that an HMV? Is that a Victor? No, it's a copy. It is a copy. But that motor does look quality, doesn't it? Does not look like junk by any means. Definitely like the looks of that. And I like the fact that it's, let's see if I can make it spin. Try not to get all greasy here while I'm running the camera, but all right, I did this before. We have, see, this has 2 that you have to do the same time. One of these is the brake. Okay, this is the brake. And where is, oh, we had it. What happened? No, we don't have it. Am I going too far? There we go. Oh. Don't want to go too fast. Other than me screwing up with the levers here, it's actually a pretty quiet motor. Oh. All right, I'll do that later when I have 2 hands to do it with. It's a lot easier that way. But it does work. You see how it works? It works nice. And those things on top there, by the way, those used to be rubber washers, but they have deteriorated with age and fallen apart. Not a big deal. I keep those in stock, and I'll probably replace them with felt washers anyway. just like the Victors use. And what else do we have here? Oh, that's the winding handle right there, where the winding handle goes. Okay. If you see one in the wild, pick one up. Now you know what they look like inside.